quiet moments before the world wakes up, there's a place where pain meets peace, where every breath feels like a prayer and grief stands still. We carry the weight of what was and search for meaning in the smallest things. And sometimes all it takes is one moment to remind us we're still here, still healing.
Hello, everybody, and welcome to another episode of the Grief Let's Talk About It podcast. You guys know who it is. This is Tony Lynch. I'm the host of this podcast, and yes, we are your number one podcast for bringing you stories around death, dying, and grief with some amazing people out here doing some amazing things, changing people's lives one heartbeat at a time. And as always, if it's your first time tuning in, do me a favor, head on over to their YouTube channel, hit that subscribe button, hit that bell notification, so you'll be notified every time that we drop a new episode. And most importantly, this is a live stream, so if you have any questions for either myself or my guests, please put them in the comment section. We'll be sure to answer them as we go. One more thing before I bring on my guest, this is for educational purposes only. Now, without further ado, guys, help me welcome my guest, Christine Barron, to the show. Christine, how you doing?
I'm doing fantastic. How are you?
I'm doing well. Welcome to the show.
I'm doing good. Can you hear me?
Yes, I can. Can you hear me?
Well, thank you very much for having me.
Of course.
I can hear you great.
Awesome. So now, before we get started, introduce yourself to the audience. So tell people who you are, where you're from, and about the work that you do.
My name is Christine Barron. I am a grief coach, and I hate the word coach, but that's what my title is. I like more like grief companion. I work with people that are walking through grief and all the things that go around with it. I hold a grief sessions in like a communities, and then I also hold a hope and light cafe, which is called the Death Cafe, where we get together and be able to talk about everything. But I help people walk through grief because I wanted to give them a safe place to allow to be heard. And I didn't want to just, when I got my certification, I just didn't want to go, I've got another course. I can fix you. Well, guess what? It doesn't work. And I have a different theory on how to help people. I don't just say, I've got a book for you. I've got a course for you. Come and, and let me come in, and I'm just going to be this moment, because everybody grieves differently and everybody has a different timetable, but nobody wants to be coached on how to get over grief. Sorry. I am a product of grief. My son, in 2013, I lost my son my former husband to suicide. I lost my son to suicide in 2018, and my mom and dad in 2018. So in 2018, I lost mom, dad, son in 5 months. And that's what turned my life around, because I needed an outlet that fit me, and I couldn't find anybody. I went to 5 therapists. I fired all of them because they were not giving me anything that allowed me to just be in the moment. They were, 45 minutes and make sure you leave a check at the door, and we'll see you next week. I want to hold space for people that are walking through where they're at. And it may be different. So I do things a little differently, and it's been successful because when you look at a widow after, sometimes they get 2 hours of my time, and that's okay. But when a widow looks at me with tears in her eyes and say, "Can I hug you?" I've done my job. When I can sit with, a parent that at the rawest moment and just hold their hand for an hour without saying a word, I've done my job. So that's what makes me want to do what I do. And now I've turned it into, I write children's books to help the little ones get through their big feelings and grief. So that's a little bit about me. I'm a little different. I'm a little different than everybody else out there.
No, I love that. I love that because you have to think outside the box.
You're just sitting there smiling.
Right? And it's been one of my philosophies as well.
Exactly.
On this journey.
There isn't a box here.
Yeah, and when it comes down to grief, it's about the people that we serve, right? We have to figure out ways of educating people without making it seem as if it's this horrible thing, which is part of the reasons I think that why we do the things that we do, right? Writing children's books because we want to educate people early on, and the adults, just have to go by them a different way. And I started thinking to myself, which actually, this thought pattern was actually led me to want to design my own animation around grief, right? And so do a whole complete series, make it fun, but also educational, right? And also led me to starting a graphic novel around grief, the many adventures that people can go on grief and things like that.
Oh, absolutely.
And it's the approach. We live in a day and age now to where video games and social media has become the best way to reach people. And so you have to make what you do entertaining and be able to grab them in order to bring them in. And once you do that, you can really begin to give people the tools that they need in order to and better to navigate grief when it does happen. Right.
Exactly.
It's not a matter of if it's going to happen. It's a matter of when it's going to happen.
To
be honest.
Absolutely. Right? That's something we can't escape is death and grief. Yeah. And it's just learning how to, like I like what you said about, when people go through grief and we're not going to hand you a box and say, and I'm not a grief counselor, so I can't diagnose anybody. And I want to make that very clear. I am here just to be an educator and say, I can give you the tools to help you through something, but I can't diagnose you of anything. But I can give you tools to help you not stay stuck, not allowing yourself to slowly breathe in and be able to walk again and love that person that you lost in the most respectful and gentle way as possible. That's not going to. I had somebody asked me the other day that it was how long are you going to grieve? That's a question that is just like, well, I don't know. It's grief, and I hate to say grief's going to stay with you the rest of your life, but once you have lost someone, that part of them will always be with you. That part of you will never go away. Yeah. So you will go, and there's not just not 5 stages of grief. There's multiple layers of grief, and you may be 30 years down the road. And you may get a whiff of a perfume that takes you right back 30 years. Yeah. So it's not, oh, I'm over it. No, it's just you're learning to live with it. And you're learning to appreciate and value and differently. But it's something you'll always hold in your heart. And in my group last week, I talked to the ladies about, I hold a widows group. And I asked them, how often do you say your husband's name? Well, we talk about him, and no, how often do you stop and say his name? His name, Bob, George, Henry, as he's a real person, not that he still exists. I says, remember, when you talk about him, talk with his name. And that honor, and so your grief never ends. You just carry it differently.
Yeah. And I love the fact that you brought up respecting your grief, right? I think that was one of the
Mhm.
very first lessons I learned as I began to understand the grieving process, right? And this was early on, and I still didn't really understand it, but something inside of me said, respect it, right? It has a lot more. There's a lot more to it than just what you're feeling. Respect it. Let it teach you. And so I began to develop a really good relationship with my grief, a
Mhm.
very intimate relationship with my grief, because over a period of time, I began to understand what it was asking of me, right? And how selfish it was. And so, I made no excuse. Once I realized that grief was selfish, right? I was like, oh, you just want my time whenever you want my time. Okay,
Selfish of you.
yeah. Well, no, the grief, grief is very selfish, right? Because it'll show. Look, I love to laugh about it. I love to joke about it because when grief shows up, it doesn't care what you're doing. It doesn't care who's around you. It doesn't care of any of that stuff, right? When grief shows up, it's like
Mm-mm.
the little annoying kid that's pulling on your pants leg all the time. Hey, 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 what are you doing? Hey, what are you doing?
Mhm.
And so that's just my philosophy of, and it makes me laugh every time it shows up. It's like, oh, you again.
Yeah.
Okay, what do you want this time? Right? It's like the
Mhm.
spoiled little kid. And so I
Yeah.
began to respect it. And what I found was that the more and more I respected it, the more and more I began to look at it in a more humorous way, the more it began to teach me because it was no longer a burden, right? And the growth that comes along with it is my friend said, yes, it is disrespectful. It is very disrespectful. I'm telling you. I love
That's,
that.
that's where it comes in the Death Cafe. As you know, it's kind of like the dark humor, but
Yeah.
it's not dark humor, and it's okay to laugh through grief. It's okay. Anytime my computer flickers, I look up and say, "Okay, son, mom's trying to work." But you do sometimes you have to laugh at it to get through it.
Yeah.
And people think, "Oh yeah, that's kind of weird." No, it's not, because my son used to make me laugh. Why shouldn't I laugh at his little, you know, playing with mom's computer and saying, "I'm here." But it's and it makes me giggle. And when I giggle and I laugh and it makes me think about all those precious times,
Mhm.
it's honoring him.
Yeah.
And I used to get real offended. I looked a lot like my mother, and I sound like her. And people used to say, "Oh, you look just like your mom. You sound just like her." And it used to like, "Don't touch my mom." And it's like, no. And it's so, like you said, honoring it. I now look at it and think, thank you. That's
Yeah.
an honor. It's respecting my mom, and thank you.
Yeah. Yeah.
Um, and so we have to take those little moments, and sometimes we may be uncomfortable in that moment of allowing that emotion to hit, having to talk about them, but just smile through it and say, yeah, they were part of my life. They meant the world to me. And
Yeah.
you wouldn't believe what my son used to dress up like a woman on Halloween at his job and serve ice cream and laugh and just honoring their lives. I would rather honor their lives, 33 years of his life, 80
Mhm.
years of my mother, my 85 of my dad's, um, and instead of thinking about the 7 years I've been without him. I would rather give my energy and my emotions to the beautiful life they had. And that makes me smile. And that's what I mean by honoring their grief, is because honor their life, honor who
Yes.
they were, because they were here for a reason and they meant something to the world. And it shouldn't, just because they're gone, we shouldn't stop. We should stop talking about them. We should stop laughing about them. I mean, my mother was only 4'9" when she passed away, and I still giggle about it's things that she used to do, and it's but honor their lives, honor. And so like it's like kind of like the little boy tapping on your shoulder or pulling at your pants, mommy, mommy, daddy, dad, pay attention to me. When you get those little nugget moments and they're just little whispers, listen to those whispers and go and stop and go, hi sweetheart, and honor them in that moment, and just think of all the wonderful things they meant to you. And but listen, those just little pearls of moments, and let that light in, and it'll help.
It does. It does. I want to talk more about honoring the lives, of the loved ones and the people that have passed on, right? One of the things I think is really hard for people, and it does take a long time to get to a place where you can honor that life, right? And actually really appreciate the memories that they gave you, right? Because they're still a part of you.
Oh, absolutely.
And there's still a major part of you. There's the laughter. It's those little awkward moments. I shared a story about my son. There was uh, when we lived in our little duplex. I planted a blackberry bush in the front. So every spring it would start to bloom, and we get these big old nice blackberries out of there. But every year the bees would come, right? And for a long time, my son used to just look out the window, look at the bees, just look at them. And one day when he was around 6 years old, he was looking out the window. Beautiful day outside. His friends are starting to come outside. I know what they're going to do. They're about to go to the tree and take all the berries off of there, right? I know that's what it's there for. It's for the kids. And but my son, he kept looking at those bees. He kept looking at them, kept looking at them. Then finally he looks at me and says, Dad, can I go outside and play with my friends? As if I didn't know already. I said, yes, son, you can. I said, but do me a favor. Leave the bees alone. Don't go out there and mess with those bees. Those bees are going to sting you. No, Dad, I'm gonna go out and play with my friends. I said, okay, because I knew what he was doing. We was all kids before. And he goes out and he's over playing with his friends and everything. And he's slowly but surely coming back towards the bush. I'm watching him. He doesn't know that I'm watching him. I think it's funny. And he goes over there. I do, because I know what's about to happen next. I definitely know what's about to happen next. So as he's going over there, I see him swatting at the bees and stuff like that. And he starts running. Dad, screaming. I walked to the door. I pulled the door closed and I locked it. I said, no, keep running. You're not going to come inside and bring those bees with you. I said, oh, no, you don't. I told you not to do it. That's what my mama used to always say, baby, self-inflicted wounds are the worst ones. My son learned a valuable lesson that day. Do not depend on me if you got bees chasing you.
But but those, like I said, so those are the moments that bring you joy, and that ought to be just cherished and
exactly.
Because he was how old was he when he passed?
He was 8.
Okay.
He was 8, but if you can look at life in a different way, right? In a way of gratitude and appreciation for the people, you will begin to see that, although these people have gone, you had the opportunity that somebody else out there didn't have. There's people out there that want to be a parent and can't have kids.
Oh, absolutely.
There's kids who have grown up in an orphanage and don't know what it's like to have a mother and a father, right? There's people that's been separated from their family that don't even know who their grandmothers or their grandfathers are, or their cousins or aunties and uncles, right? So when you can look at it that way, I say, thank you. I did have the opportunity to be a son. I had the opportunity and a blessing to be a brother and a nephew and a grandson and also a father, right? So those things I don't take for granted because just like I knew what that feeling was, now I know what it's like not to.
Mhm.
And it just makes me appreciate what I had that much more. But it drives me to keep wanting to do better because there's more people out there like ourselves that that may not even see that blessing, so to speak,
You
right?
took the words right out of my mouth because I was going to say it's a blessing,
Yeah.
and we did have the honor and that blessing because it is a blessing.
Hmm.
We and we need to honor that blessing that God gave us. Even for the short amount of time that we had it, it was a blessing to us. And and people can argue, well, how was it a blessing that he's not here? Well, God knows, and God knew us before we were here. God knew us after we were here, and God knew our timing on earth. God knows how long we're going to be here, and every time you go through something, it's in His plan and it's in His timing. And I had two stillborns. I had a total of five children. Every other child was a stillborn, and I kind of like. And then when the last one, my last child was born, and he wasn't breathing, I said, "I'm done. Tie those tubes. Can't do this anymore." And I couldn't understand. God, can't you pick on somebody else? I am done. You've taught me enough lessons. But he said, I'm preparing you for something, and and people don't understand when I say this. God gives us things to prepare us for something. Even if it's horrific, and what I went through, what you went through, what everybody else, the other people that are grieving have gone through. Please bear with me when I say this. God is a gracious God, and He only allows us to go through what we are meant to go through for a reason. And I hate to say that my son passed away for me to be where I'm at to help others.
Hmm. Hmm.
But
Yep.
it's my my words are not my words. My words are my son's and God's. And every morning when I get out of bed, I said, God, this is your walk. Let me speak your words. These are not my words. God blessed me with my son. He blessed me with the two babies that didn't survive. And the reason he chose me to, to help others in their darkest moments. And I take that as a blessing. It's because I miss him every day, but I know my son isn't hurting anymore. My son is not in pain anymore. And that gives me right there a blessing
Yeah.
because he's up there with him now teaching Texas Hold'em to everybody else in heaven. So he's serving his purpose up there. He was a big Texas Hold'em player.
Nice.
And I hope I didn't go too religious on you about
No, no, you're totally fine. Because as you was talking about that, I started thinking and reflecting on a lot of the different people that I talk to across the world. Especially dealing with helping serve with men and things like that, and the conversations aren't too far off, and that's part of the stigma that I'm trying to get around people. Like when men and women grieve, we have subtle differences, very, very subtle differences. The way that we may say something may not translate to you in that moment. But if you listen to both sides and what everybody's saying, you really understand that you're saying the same thing, right? It's just being articulated different. And so, but once we begin to understand the language, because, and this is just my theory, my thoughts and opinions on this, for me, grief is its own separate language. It's like a foreign love language.
Oh, it is.
It's a beautiful language once you begin to understand how to speak and how to articulate it, right? It's a very beautiful language, right? And it has the ability to connect people from all walks of life for one common purpose, to be of service to one another.
Mm-hmm.
Right? Because inside of there, if you unpack unpack that right there, that's where the bulk of the work comes in. That's where the understanding, the empathy, the compassion, the knowledge that we turn into wisdom on a day-to-day basis, and how we grow within the pain, right? Yeah, and the sad truth about it is that that's the yin and the yang. You can't have one without the other. If you're going to be vulnerable and open to truly love someone, then you come in with the expectation or the understanding that this person is going to expire one day. Mm-hmm. So if you understand that, I think you will focus more on the journey with people and not the destination. Right? Create as many memories as you possibly can with individuals, right?
Absolutely.
But be willing to accept people in their muddiest moments, because that's where that true character comes out, right? Grief has a strange way of revealing that. But again, these are just my thoughts and opinions on it, and I've tripped up a few times along the way as well. So.
I think we all have.
Yeah.
It's a learning curve.
It is a learning curve. It is a learning curve.
When you meet another parent that has lost another child, like you said, it's a totally different language. So you can look at that parent and just look in their eyes, and you don't have to say anything to them because you know what they're feeling. Mm-hmm. And all you want to do is wrap your arms around them. You look at a husband that's lost his wife, or a wife that's lost her husband. And if you've not experienced that, you have a different language. Mm-hmm. And you try to fill in that little bit, but it's a different language, and people don't quite understand that. And it's like, don't judge me until you walk to my shoes. Mm-hmm. And because trust me, during my 7 years of grief journey, I've had some muddy waters. Trust me. Mm-hmm. And it has been, and I have pushed people away because they didn't understand. Because it was easier to pull away from people because it was nobody spoke the same language. And so I ended up pushing people away because it was easier to say, you don't understand, just better to just stay that way.
Right.
And the ones I relate to the more are the ones that have been in those messy waters that get me. And I think we do that with people with the mess when we're going through that messy water. Well, even when we're not going through the messy waters, as we take one small word that somebody has said to us, and it may be just out of their language, not knowing our language. And mm-hmm. It's like, you look at them and they've got 15 eyes on them, and you're looking like, why are you even talking to me? If you don't understand, why would you even say my son's in a better place? Why would you say, well, you can have more children? It's like, go, just go. And I think
Yeah.
that we have that tendency to do that with people when they don't talk our language. And learning that through that my journey is I take those little nuggets of words now and I just put them, okay, they're not in the same language category. We will love you and I will bless you. And I've now learned to just shrug it off because you and I both know not everybody talks the same language and it's not,
Right.
and we get our feelings are right here on both sides. And we really need to be careful on how we talk to people that are going through it. That's just a real soft walk.
Yeah. I love that you said that. And I want to add to it because you're absolutely right. The one thing, the one strong truth about grief that people don't get is that there's no right or wrong answers to it, right? You know what I'm saying? Because you have to mold your grief to fit you, right? You have to be able to grow within it. You're going to come up with different routines to be able to respect what you're going through. When it comes down to people, that I learned was that it wasn't personal, right? I knew that when my son transitioned out of this world, I knew I was in this category. I just didn't know how big it was, right? Because people never talk about, losing a child and things like that. And I had the same things happen said to me as well, right? The little do's and don'ts, that you say to a person who's grieving. You never tell them, oh, your loved one's in a better place. You never say, oh, you can have more kids, because my rebuttal was just like, the better place would have been with me.
Mm-hmm.
Right. I wasn't doing bad. I may not have been a perfect dad, but I was a pretty good dad. Right. My son never wanted or needed for anything. He knew that he was loved. He knew that whenever, no matter what, he was safe with me. Right. And that was the relationship that I wanted to have with him. And we had a beautiful relationship. So in the beginning, I began to take it personal. But after a while, I began to understand that they were doing the best that they could do with the knowledge that they had. Because, like you said, unless you go through it, you'll never truly understand what that individual is, and what that individual is thinking or feeling, right? And in those moments. Now, if you walk that walk before, you can look at a person and go, "Yeah, no words need to be said." I've been
Not,
around
not,
many
not a
people where
word.
no words need to be said, right? But this is where in those moments, and you develop the tools for it, you begin to have a little grace for those individuals. You begin to understand that they are doing the best that they can. Like, it's not personal, right? We just take it personal. Those little words and things like that, where oftentimes, depending on how you catch a person, we get you punched in your mouth, right? And that
Yeah.
person go, "Wait, I was just trying to do this," right? And so, you know, it takes time um, to develop that patience and grace for individuals, right? Um, but it's up to us to be able to educate them as well. And I want to talk about grief education for a minute, because ever since I became certified, and I'm a grief coach as well, right? I really don't like the word coach. It's
I don't
just a
like that word either.
certification that I just thought, I was like, oh, I'm a coach now. What am I supposed to do with this?
And
Right?
that's what I'm saying. You can't coach somebody through grief. And that's why I
Right, you
hate saying
can't coach somebody through it, right? But you can educate them, and so, which that's what actually got me to program designing. And I did it for one. I didn't like the programs that were out there. They seemed really out of date, right? And there wasn't
and
enough
impersonal.
information, right? Like it wasn't enough information in there to help someone fully understand or be able to um, attach it to their own life experiences. It was always gaps. And so, um, I, I, me personally, I think that there should be a better certification with more stuff in there to educate people that's applicable, right, to a person's life, and not just something that somebody wrote out of a book. But again, that's just
I am 100%.
my own thoughts.
I am 100% right with you, because it that's why I did it. I got certified just so I could say I can help people. And that's why I clarify, I'm not a counselor. I am not a grief counselor. I am a grief coach or / bereavement companion. Trying to find I want to find a perfect word for it, but I don't think there is one. But it's because when I first got my certification, I thought, okay, I'm gonna do a 6-week course on how to walk through grief and how to do this and how to do this and this and this. Oh, let me tell you how that went. Yeah, that went. Let's just say that went over like a ton of bricks, because everybody's like, "You're gonna do what? You want to teach me how not to grieve, and you're going to charge me money to take this course to," and I said, yeah, I've been, and oh yeah, we'll talk about getting stoned, just being in the middle of the stuff, all these stones coming at you. And so that's why I thought I'm going to step back. And so I took a step back and just thought, okay, maybe I'm going about this wrong. And the more people I talked to, they kept saying, no, you can't step back from this. You can't step back from this. And I said, well, nobody wants to buy a course on how to walk through grief or take the steps to get better. But they said, but you've got a gift. You've got a gift on just giving space. And that's when it hit me. I don't want to teach a course. I just want to give people space. I have tools. I got tools the length of my arm to give people. But I think the number one tool that we can give people going through grief is space. And allowing them to hold that space with their loved one. And so that's when I decided I'll just hold groups. And in the group, we have, sometimes they're an hour long, sometimes they're 2 hours long, just whatever we need. And I'll throw little nuggets in there, little tips and stuff. And I always let them leave with something in their hand, so they don't leave empty-handed. But it's not a 15-minute sit on the couch, tell me all your problems. Oh, really? Oh, I'm so sorry you're going through. Well, how does that make you feel? Oh, really? Well, have you tried? I don't want to be that person. And that's not what and because I fired 4 of them, especially when I went, the last one I fired, and then I'll circle back to what I was going, I went to my last therapist, and she knows I wear wigs. And so that's no secret. And so I went in one day and I had a different wig on. And she went, and I was already on the timer. And she says, I have a question about your wigs. 30 minutes conversation about my wig. And she looked at me and she said, she says, well, let's talk about how your week went. Oh, wow. Can we put a pin on that and talk about that next week? And make sure when you leave a check at the door for $150, and we'll talk about that next week. You have a fantastic week. Walked out the door and never went back. And I thought to myself, no, you need to allow somebody to just breathe and not just look at them and say, how does that make you feel? Well, read this book. And that never worked for me. And so I'm hoping, and I'm seeing success with what I'm doing, so that makes me happy, is I'm allowing them just to come in and they have the space. We can talk about anything they want, and we don't have to talk about anything. But I'm allowing them to have that space and them knowing I don't disclose fully my story in the beginning. Now all of them know it because they've dragged it out. Oh, tell me about you. So I've told them my story. Is I hold their hand and I cry with them and I let them tell me about their loved ones. And that's why I'm a little different. I don't hold courses. I don't have journals and all that. Like I said, I have all that tools, but I just allow someone to sit with and breathe in and honor and respect their grief and of who their son, their daughter, their husband, their wives, grandparents, mom and dad, their pets. It's and sometimes grief is something different. It may just be a divorce. You allow them to hold that and let them know you honored your time with them. And you don't make, and during that time, you just never make it about you. And the only time I tell my story in my sessions is if they ask. And I'll keep it very brief. But I always make it about them. I always say, well, this happened to me, or you wouldn't believe this is, I don't ever, except unless they ask. Because it isn't about me. It's about the people I'm working with. And every one of them is different. Every single one of their stories and every single of their walks are different because no one walks through grief the same. It's unique, it's personal, and it's right here. And it makes me tear up because it's just, like I said, when I walked out of my last session, everyone that walked out of my group hugged me and said, thank you. Thank you. Thank you. And that is just because I hold space for them. I let them be honored.
Yeah, I love that because I think that's when we're called to do this work, I think that's one of the biggest things that we understand first and foremost. Holding space with someone, even if we don't understand it, we know that that's part of the process is being in the moment, holding that space with that individual and allowing that person to just be, right? Wherever they need to be. We just allow them to be,
no judgment,
right? And just let them just do what they need to do. And that is the most rewarding feeling for me in the world is to be in that moment with individuals in their most vulnerable moments and just go, it's okay. And they can look up and
when they're most raw,
see, and they see the person sitting there because you've done something that most people don't do. You was there with them. You was there with them in that moment. A lot of people miss that. A lot of people miss just that one little action of just being there. You don't have to say anything. You just have to show up, sit down. Don't make it about you, like you said, and allow that individual to just be, and you just be a visitor. Be a visitor in that space with that individual. Don't try to control the conversation. If you don't need to, don't make a conversation unless it's one that's dictated by the individual who's grieving. That gives that person the opportunity to pretty much fill you out, to see who you are and become comfortable with you, to be honest with you, right? About what they're truly going through. Wow, man. Like I said, I could talk to you forever. I can. I love conversations like this. I love normalizing conversations around death. And invite you back to the show again whenever you get a chance.
I'd be more than happy to come back. This is
I
my
only
heart.
got a
This
few-
is my.
Yeah. I only have a few more questions. How can people find you?
How can people find me? My website is www.balancingthestonesoflife.com. I am on TikTok. My TikTok channel is Graceful Living. That's what it is. My Facebook, you name it, I'm there.
Just for 10 videos and under 10.
My TikTok is Grace Brief. And I put a lot of contact on there. Just a lot of it is just inspirational post, and then I have a website, and then I also have a children's book that I've got about 5 of them now. They're all different, and that's Gracie Bloom's Corner. And I'd be more than happy to come back and visit with you and talk to you, and because I've loved this, because it is all about holding space, and sometimes you sit there for a full hour, 2 hours, and you don't say a word because
Exactly.
it's not about me, it's about them.
Exactly. Now, my next question would be, if Christine had a superpower, what would it be?
Oh heavens, which one? Oh goodness. My superpower would be, it's a simple one, is holding your hand and just sitting with you.
Out of everybody I've ever asked, you're the first person to say that, and I think that's a very powerful superpower, to be able to hold somebody's hand and just walk with them. That's an amazing superpower. Last question for you. If you could leave the audience with something, what would you leave them with?
My biggest little pearl that I would leave with you guys right now is 2 things. If you have a child that is going through grief, they're struggling, talk to them in their language, because there are so many children out there that aren't being talked to about losing mommy and daddy, or losing grandpa and grandma, or a brother or sister. It could be mommy was going to have a baby, but the baby didn't make it. Whatever that child is going through, it could be their best friend. Talk to them. And it doesn't need to be big words. It just simplify it and let them be heard. But don't exclude them from that grief and that pain. Talk to your children. That's so important, because they feel like they're not. I've talked to so many children, and they've said, I don't feel part of this, and I just want to be seen. I just want to be a part of it. So that I'd like to leave with that. But the other thing I'd like to leave with is just say your loved one's name and laugh. Say their name and laugh, and enjoy and let them be a happy memory in their life. Concentrate on the time that you had with them, not the time that you haven't had them.
Love that.
Yeah.
I love that. And with that being said, Christine, I'm going to say thank you for being on the show today. I can't wait to do part 2. Where can people find the children's book?
Pardon me?
Where can people find the children's book?
Oh, Gracie Bloom Corner. It's Grace. Oh, excuse me. Grace Bloom Corner and .com. And she's got her own website, and she's got her own Facebook page. She's got her own TikTok. She's growing. Exciting news. She's going into libraries. I just got the word yesterday. that
Nice.
the library is going to sponsor her, and she's now going to be in libraries, and I'm hopefully going to be packaging them up to funeral homes as well, so the funeral
Yes.
home can give them out at the time of service.
I love that.
So
I love
that's
that.
the goal. That's right. So yeah, Gracie's growing up. She's doing big things.
I love that. I love that. For everyone else who have been tuning in, I want to say thank you guys for tuning in, being a part of the show. Allow me to keep bringing these conversations to you guys. Again, we're changing the way that we see grief, and we're normalizing the conversations around grief. So we have a lot more people coming for you guys. There's always we got some more amazing people coming out here doing some amazing work. If
More
you want
amazing
to get in contact, hey, we look, we all are amazing out here doing this thing because it takes,
Everybody's
an amazing person. Well, it takes an amazing person
It
to take
does.
some of the
It
most
does.
horrible things that we've gone through and turn it around and be of service to other people, right? And the hearts that come along with it. I get to surround myself with amazing people like yourself and so many other people out here doing some amazing work out here in this
Thank you.
world. Because together we can make an impact, right? We can
Oh,
help people
one
get out of that muddy place to get to a place of healing and understanding and possibly even enjoying life again.
Yeah.
That's what this is all about. But everybody, Christine's information is in the YouTube channel. Go there and check her out. Go follow on her social media. Go order her book. Get those books for the kids, man. We ain't leaving nobody out. And with that being said, guys, I am Tony Lynch. We're gonna end this episode of Grief Let's Talk About It podcast. And as always, if you're not, go out and make memories with the people that you love, because tomorrow's not promised to you. And with that being said, we're out. I love you, and we're going to see you guys in the next one.
Thank you.